Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. Here we are on Tonberry on Elemental Data Center once again, mostly because Tonberry has the highest progression so far. Good on you, Tonberry people. You're doing awesome. We did a video on this yesterday, and I kind of just wanted to talk about what I want from the Ishgard Restoration, where I would see it going in the future, and yeah, some speculation, basically. So welcome to this sort of video. It is obviously fully speculation. We're not basing this on too much, mostly because we just don't have that much information on it. And really what I wanted to speculate is about the housing itself as well. Housing is a big thing on everyone's minds right now. Will there be Ishgard Restoration housing? Will we get it somehow, etc.? So here I am. This is St. Roel's Dais, or Dais, at the end sort of area of the Ishgard Restoration. We've got Hoarfrost Hall up here. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And then we've got passageways down here that are basically leading down to the custom deliveries client and the rest of it. Okay. So the map's looking pretty cool. Okay. The first thing I will notice, though, that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't talk in the other video, is that to me, this looks like 4 segments rather than just 2. So does this mean that in the future we're going to get more patches for this segment here, north of St. Roel's Dais, and this bit here, north of the Abacus, okay? Because it kind of looks like quads, doesn't it? It looks like a quad connected by these supporting pillars. Now, if you were going to be building somewhere, the last thing you want after you've finished building everything is to have no entry signs everywhere and a giant cliff. You know, it's just not helpful, is it? Not to your children, not to your workers, not to anyone. And that is such an eyesore, you know? Do you really want to wake up in your new polished, beautiful house, stretch your legs, you know, go for a slight walk, and then you're like, the city's so beautiful. Apart from that bit that we completely forgot to get the adventurers to help us with. No, I think that there's going to be a couple more patches for this. How they would restore this stuff, well, you know, honestly, some of the other bits and pieces over here, all of this wall segment, if you remember, was just a complete garbage heap itself. All of this fancy stuff in the distance as well just wasn't built properly. It was all just wreckage. So essentially, anything is possible. Rebuilding a segment for the passageway to go on, I mean, it's entirely possible, even though there's just a massive void down there. It kind of looks like Nidhogg just belly flopped the entire place into oblivion, basically. But anything is possible, and I think that this will be a connecting segment. So you'll have access way to this bridge, for example, will be completed to like a segment here, and you'll have basically another tri-section, okay? And then you'll probably have a walkway over here as well. The main reason for this is because of the shape of this building over here. That's kind of identical to this one, where we actually get into the Ishgard Restoration area itself. That would presumably go back down to the Foundation, where we talked to that NPC. And then we also have Hoarfrost Hall, which also has pretty much the same design of the stained glass. So the other speculation is, where is the housing going to be? If we're going to get housing for Ishgard Restoration, where would it be? Now, a lot of people in the comment section last time disliked my idea of putting a Grand Company headquarters inside a housing district, whereas I don't know where else it would be. I think that they need one, personally. But a lot of people did say that Hoarfrost Hall, that's likely going to be an access way to the housing. Well, you could be right, potentially. But at the same time, doesn't it sort of strike you a little bit odd that you would have no aetheryte in here, and you would have to teleport to Foundation, then talk to an aetheryte or an NPC to queue into here? That's a loading screen. So you've got one loading screen to get to Foundation, one to actually teleport or talk to the NPC to get into here. Then you'd have to walk up to Hoarfrost Hall to then presumably transition through another dotted line transition line to get into your housing. Is it just me that thinks that 3 loading screens to get to housing is a little bit ridiculous? I don't know. Also, you've got to point that the only other restoration that we've seen in the game so far is Doma's reconstruction, which was on a much smaller scale than this, but was obviously foundation for this, pun intended. It's what they worked on to work on that phasing technology to unlock things in segments as they go, which was fantastic. I love the Dome reconstruction to death, but it served very little purpose at the end and basically provided a good storyline but very little else. But there certainly wasn't housing off of it. Shirogane was basically you take a pier from Kagane. It made sense. And then once you have a house there, you can teleport there. Or if you have a shared estate or an FC house, you can teleport directly to it, which I'm sure will happen with the Ishgard stuff as well. I just find it a little bit unusual that you would access housing from this area. Unless, of course, one of these segments has an aetheryte, which I don't think it will have at this point. But am I right? Is there going to be 2 more segments? Is one of these going to be like a businessy district or something and more housing? I don't know. I was under the impression that Featherfall, when I read the storyline on the Skybuilder stuff, was supposed to be like your commercial district. Does this cover this entire area, or are these just houses as well? I was under the impression that this massive building would either be, I guess it could be a worker's house, like a really powerfully well-known worker's house, or multiple lodgings for people. But I was under the impression that this was a commercial district, and that the tents or whatever over here, where are they actually? They're somewhere over here anyway, like here, were to do with, oh, here you go. These 3 blobs here, I remember them. Or something to do with like shops or more custom delivery clients. Isn't this a shopping area basically? Have they split this into commercial district, housing district, like each quadrant maybe? Like a business district, your CBD, and then like leisure or something? I don't know what this would be. The tourism section, beachfront property. Yeah, I don't think we're getting beachfront property here, Meoni. Mountainside property maybe, but yeah. I don't think Hoarfrost Hall will be... I don't know. I find it hard to believe that Hoarfrost Hall would be the access way to the housing. Some people also said that this could be apartments. I don't think they would put apartments in a non-housing area. Obviously, you have apartments and stuff inside an instance block, right? I don't know. What do you think? Maybe people know something I don't. I've not looked at everything in all of the recent interviews that Yoshi P has had with people. But we obviously know that Ishgard Restoration housing, or Ishgardian housing, let's put it that way, will probably come. Is it going to be locked behind this stuff? I don't think so. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me to have it locked behind this. And obviously there are other people who are like, oh, they should give the housing to crafters who actually performed. I think that's incredibly unfair as well. But yeah, so housing will, I believe, come for Ishgard. How we access it, I don't think this has anything to do with it. I don't think housing has anything to do with this map at all. I think past the custom deliveries client at St. Roa's Deus, the ability to queue into Diadem into the future and get Skybuilder scripts beyond that, and maybe another custom deliveries client or a couple of things beyond that sort of content, I don't think this acts as a hub for housing. I really don't think it does. They could surprise me, but I really, really doubt it. I think that housing, if it does get implemented, will be completely separate from this entirely. You'll have nothing to do with the restoration. You won't even have to ever come here at all, and it'll be a completely different segment out of Ishgard. Now, there are 2 problems with that. One, as far as we know, most people are impoverished who are moving here. People who live in the gutter, right? Who have no place of their own, that have been shunned by higher society. And now that things have changed governmentally, past the fall of Thordan, obviously, we have a democracy, and this is part of that effort. And a lot of people, through the storyline, if you've read it, and the cutscenes, now have a place to live. There are kids who are orphans, basically, who now have places to hang out and throw snowballs and just chill out, and presumably live a normal life. So that's what this seems to be about. It's all about NPCs. It's got nothing to do really with us and our greed for housing. But then there's an obvious problem with that, lore-wise. If there was another place that's ready for us to simply just move into in terms of housing, why didn't the Ishgardians do it themselves? So I think personally, I don't think that this map, the Firmament, has anything to do with housing. But at the same time, I think that if they do just add housing as a separate entity, oh yeah, this was here all along, or oh, meanwhile, we've been using some of your materials to build a housing district, I would find that a little bit of a cop-out, personally. It's the most logical thing for them to do, right? Just add housing, don't ask about the lore, don't ask about the storyline. Because that's kind of what they've sort of already began to do, right? I mean, we bought all the materials, but did we really build all of those, like, houses? Because you can see roofs in the distance. All of this stuff is really relatively new, isn't it? Right? All these massive walls. You're telling me that our turn-ins... I can believe, like, the walls in these houses here, perhaps, like the ones you can see. But those stately-looking walls that were definitely not as grandiose as they were before and more looked like this sort of stuff and this sort of stuff before. I don't know, man. I don't know. So maybe it's under the impression of, oh, well, Featherfall is the commercial district, Meoni, but actually the majority of Featherfall is over here where it says off the map. You just physically can't see it. And all of those materials that we've turned in have actually building like an entirely new, massive commercial district that we just can't access. It's part of the story. It's part of the RP of it, right? So at that, I guess in that same vein, they could have a housing district completely built for us as a surprise. I don't know. I don't know. It just feels a little bit weird to me, like connected-wise. But anyway, what do you think? Do you really think Hoarfrost Hall is going to be access way to housing? Let me know in the comment section below. We had someone claim to be a friend of somebody who works at Square Enix the other day giving us information. Yeah, I don't know about that. I have no idea at all. From what I've heard so far, which is very little, there's obviously more to come. But as for whether we get more patches with this stuff, I have no idea. I would hope so. Otherwise, the map's going to be forever annoying to me with my OCD. It's like, oh, no, I need these other two segments to be completed. Anyway, thank you to Tombury. You guys are awesome for progressing it as far as you have. I can't wait for you to unveil the completed Hoarfrost Hall. I will be paying attention to my social media. And the person that messaged me last time, let me know when it's close, okay? And I'll hop back on and we'll take part in the fate together and I'll film it. And we'll show the completed article. Because I believe you guys are definitely going to get there before the rest of us. But yeah, I think in the future, if this place didn't get prettified, if we didn't get more patches to fix this, to make it, you know, more habitable, I don't think it would be really that good of a job. It's like, well done, Warrior of Light and fellow adventurers, or whatever you want to call us. You've done this part, but look at that eyesore, you know. It's just not, it's not right, is it? It needs to be fixed, and these no entry signs are just silly. If you were a small child, you'd just run and jump off there, wouldn't you? But there we go. Anyway, jumping children aside, thank you so much for watching today. Let me know all of your thoughts below on what you would like to see happen with the housing. And I'll see you all next time. Until we hear more information, that's probably the last video I'm going to do on this topic. But yeah, thank you kindly for watching, and I'll see you all next time.